And we're back with you talking the rules of the road with Mark Ezel. All right, so this is part of our text question here. This person says, when at an intersection without a stoplight, so you got all the stop signs there, does the right-hand driver always have the right of way?
Well, generally it's the person who gets there first, and it's in order of arrival. But somebody gets there at the same time, or all four were to get there at the same time, it is indeed the person to the right. A lot of this is just common courtesy. You know, you look and you look at the driver, but as a general rule, most should do that in order of who showed up.
Okay. This person says, has North Carolina made it a law that slower traffic must move to the right-hand lane?
Once again, that is not a law. But it is just kind of common courtesy. Common courtesy if you've got somebody, if you're in the left lane, and if you're going a little bit slower than the other person, rather than risk being tailgated, just go over to the next lane.
All right, so maybe you can settle a few spousal arguments. I'm not sure you want to be dragged into this, but we're going to drag you into this. I will
try.
So when someone's in the left-hand lane and they're way too slow, there's a few people who have the tendency of getting up real close to them just to give them the idea, hey, you should probably move over. Is this the correct way that we need to be doing that?
Only if you are on a speedway in a NASCAR race. In other circumstances like real life, that is not considered appropriate.
And you may actually be following too closely and could get ticketed for that.
That's exactly right. You could definitely be ticketed for that. That is against the law in North Carolina.
Following too closely. Now, this is kind of a follow-up question to that. If someone is following too closely and I hit my brakes because the car in front of me stops suddenly and the car behind me hits me, who's at fault?
Yeah, that's really more of an insurance question. And the last thing in the world you want me to do is give you legal advice. I am 3 years short of a law degree. But what I can tell you is that, again, common courtesy reigns. And if you are maintaining a proper distance between you and the other car, preparing for the possibility that that could happen, then everybody should be safe.
And we are going to have an insurance person in on Wednesday of next week. So if you still have that question, Wednesday is it. All right, this person is asking, if the backseat driver is not wearing their seatbelt, who's ticketed? Is it the person in the back seat or the driver, or both?
First of all, if you are the driver and you're not wearing a ticket, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, you are subject to a ticket that is up to $180, including court cost. If you are in the rear seat and you are found in another prior stop, if the officer stops you for another reason and finds that the person in the rear seat is not wearing a seatbelt, the person in the rear seat can be ticketed. That's a smaller fine, but they can still get a ticket. And the worst part is if that person in the rear seat is actually in a crash, then they can become this projectile that flies into the front seat, potentially harming themselves and the front seat driver.
So it is the person who actually is sitting there who gets fined, not the driver who gets fined if someone in the back seat is not buckled up.
I believe that's true.
Okay, interesting, because people were saying, if I've got 3 other people in the car and they have their own license and they're not wearing their seatbelts, am I the one getting stuck with the ticket? But the answer is no, it's the person who's actually not buckled up in the back.
I am not 100% sure on that, but I believe that's the case.
All right, this person is asking, this is a follow-up to our tailgating question.
Sure.
They're saying, what is your advice with tailgaters in the slow lane? How do you do that? I mean, obviously you can't follow them too closely. Do you flip your lights at them? What do you do?
You know, what I've done sometimes, honestly, is I have just been known to pull over to the shoulder, let them go. If somebody's tailgating me, I will just pull over to the shoulder and let them go. If someone's going too slow, and frankly, I'm getting a little bit agitated, sometimes I pull over anyway and just calm down.
Well,
you can't necessarily account for other people's behavior.
Right. Speaking of pulling over, in North Carolina, can you pass on the right and on the left? Like if you've got a 4-lane highway and there's someone in the middle, can you pass them on the right? Can you pass them on the left?
That's correct.
So,
yes, you can do that.
Okay, and just very quickly, child safety seats. How do we make sure that we've got them in correctly?
North Carolina has a really strong contingent of child safety, passenger safety technicians. A lot of fire departments and law enforcement have experts that know this like the back of their hand and will put these in for new parents and others who need child passenger safety seats in their cars.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your expertise. We so appreciate it. And I'm sure you just want to tell everybody one more time to buckle up.
Please do. Please do. We will be checking and doing our annual seatbelt survey from now until the middle of June.
All right. And someone really quickly said, can you explain what people should do if stoplights go out? You should treat it as a four-way stop.
That is exactly right.
Okay. Treat it as a four-way stop. Don't be blowing through the lights thinking that you're okay. All right. If you missed any of these answers, all of this information will be on our website under the Two Wants to Know section.